Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Cloud Lounge. I'm Enrico Signoretti, your host and moderator. The Cloud Lounge is a live talk show. You can think about it as an open roundtable discussion. We are inspired by thought-provoking articles and compelling news sourced from what we found interesting on the internet. Topics include the domains of cloud computing, artificial intelligence, data management, security, infrastructure, IT strategy, and brilliant minds that shape the industry, or even stories from our interaction with Cubbit's teams, partners, and customers. So my role is to initiate these conversations by providing a session context and initial commentary. Then we open the floor to the microphone for your comments and opinions. These live sessions are recorded and later shared as a podcast on Spotify, so that you can enjoy the Cloud Lounge experience even when you are unable to join us in real time. So we have three topics lined up today, and the first one is about AWS Summit that I attended last week in Milan, but also, a discussion, a more general discussion around events, IT events in Europe, especially in Europe. The second news is about the squabble between Google and Microsoft. You know that there is all this issue about licensing and cloud services. So Microsoft is using its licensing to lure a customer in. Google is not happy. And then last but not least, the glitch in AWS that last week provoked a downtime for many companies of more of 4 hours. So and again, the ongoing discussion about the cloud and your data in the cloud, accessing the cloud, etc., etc. So let's start with AWS Summit. Last week we had AWS Summit in Italy, and honestly, I was surprised. So it was the first time I attended an AWS Summit in Italy. In the past, I had the chance to do, the one in the UK. It was, I think it was last year, and last year was, massive. And I thought, wow, this is so big, and probably people want to engage with each other. I mean, the pandemic was just ended or almost ended, and everybody wanted to meet people in person. There was a lot of booths, a lot of sessions. It was incredible. This year in Milan, so the Milan event is smaller than the UK event. I was surprised. For an Italian event, an IT event, I was really surprised for several reasons. One is the amount of people and the type of people. I don't have a count, so I don't know how much people we had, but we were in the center of Milan, conference center, pretty big one, and it was really, really tough to walk the show floor. So just to give you an idea of how crowded was the event. So all the sessions were full, but like really packed, and both technical and high level sessions, and again the type of people. AWS was able to pull together every kind of persona at this event. So we had developers, we have architects, we had executives of any kind. It was fun. So that was a blast from that point of view. From the point of view of value, that's a different story. And again, guys, this is an interactive event, so just raise your hand as soon as you want to share your experience. I don't know if you had a chance to attend an event lately. Not just AWS Summit, but any event that you attended lately in the IT and you want to share your experience. So there is a button on the bottom right of your screen where you can ask to talk. So as I was saying, the event was massive, was interesting. All the booths were full of people. sometimes I don't know. I mean, booth full of people. In many cases, they were giving away gadgets like socks, and so they were stealing your soul practically, because you had to. They scanned all the badges and everything to give you a small gift. But in the end, there were a lot of conversation going. As I said, I mean, from the point of view of value, and I attended the executive track, so maybe it was, let's say, too executive, so too visionary, too always the same thing. I mean, talk about the future, where we're going, and maybe it's because last year I attended a AWS reInvent, and many of the discussions that I mean, we had at that time are still the same. I don't know. I mean, it looked like a sort of repetition, and there was a lot of attention about saving money, efficiency, cloud cost optimization. That still. I don't want to say that it's stale now, but actually, yes, we know that the problem is big. Everybody wants to save money with the cloud, so they want to shrink the bill and things like that. So, I mean, I have to be honest, that's sounded repetitive somehow. So there is nothing new, and maybe it's also a sign of maturity of the cloud ecosystem in general. So I don't know. And again, please chime in if you have an opinion, especially if the opinion is different than mine. And so for me, it was really cool to meet with people, and but again, it was more a social gathering than anything else, a big social gathering. So I had the chance to have some very cool discussions, meet a lot of friendly people, friends, but in the end, the quality of some of the content was not there. I had a conversation with a couple of guys from Cubbit that attended the event, and more or less they had a similar experience. So big crowd, lot of fun, but for their job they didn't get much. It was almost considered a day off, a vacation somehow. So I don't know, and I'm also thinking about this because we as a Cubbit, we are planning for the event season, for the end of the year, and then also for the next year, and we have to select good events, people attended by people, where we can find leads, etc. And it's really difficult. I mean, so are you going to an event that is really crowded, so that you have more leads, but they don't really mean anything? Or is it better to go to smaller events that are, less people, but more focused, more interested in the topic, in the technology that you are proposing, and so that the discussion, the conversation is a little bit better from the very beginning. And I don't know, because I was scrolling the list of the events available in Europe, and again, AWS, yes, it's all about AWS, but AWS Summit is bigger than most of the other events that we have across Europe. So when I see from the website, we have 5,000, 8,000 attendees. Well, probably less than the AWS event in the last week. So are these, let's call them general purpose event for the IT, still a thing? What do you think, guys? I mean, you online here, do you want to jump in and tell something? I see a lot of people listening, but again, on the bottom right of the screen, you have the possibility to react and ask to speak. So just let me know. Actually, I put an earth, pumping earth on my icon. So, what about the rest of the news then? As you probably have read already on the internet, so Google is pissed at Microsoft because their business practices around licensing and cloud services. This is not new. I mean, even if we talk it about news and there are some legal consequences. Google presented I don't even know how it's called, but it's they presented at the FTC, which is a Federal Trade Commission in the U.S., a document to push on this, and really, I think that this is something that everybody does in the industry. And yes, maybe if Microsoft is in a different position because they have 80% of Office application installed in the computer. I mean, practically 8 out of 10 people in this world use Word. Yes, of course. And if you as a user want to spend some money in the cloud, they can balance what you spend in the Microsoft licenses in terms of servers and the other thing with the cloud. I mean, I saw so many times in the past these kind of companies moving the licensing to make, to create a sort of lock-in, which is somehow a friendly lock-in. I mean, so Oracle did the same in the recent past by, allowing customers to spend a certain amount of money and moving between on-premises licenses and Oracle managed in the cloud. Why not? I mean, it's flexibility. It's something that many enterprises like. I mean, today I start with a configuration. The configuration is on premises, and tomorrow I want to move to the cloud. Why not? If you give me an option to move from one stage to the other, why should I, as a user, why should I consider as a formal lock-in? I mean, for many of these customers that have a very, very long purchase cycle, everything is complicated. You have the budget, you spend the budget today for an application, and then tomorrow you can reuse the money that you spent on something different from the same vendor. Why not? It's very, very convenient from my point of view. What do you think? Again, I invite you to jump in and comment if you want. It's easy. You can find a button on the right bottom of the screen to do that if you are on the desktop. And again, Google is not in the position to attack this kind of customer because, of course, it's easier to migrate to Microsoft services in the cloud instead of having changing everything and throw some money out of the window because you want to change to go to Google. And to be honest, I mean, even here in Europe, it's for me when I talk with our customers and many others enterprises, what I found is the reality is clear. Most of the companies like AWS for its services, for the innovation, for the ecosystem, they like Microsoft because because they are familiar with Microsoft. They trust Microsoft. Microsoft has a lot of partners. They work with these partners. The partners have to make money, so this licensing mechanism put in place by Microsoft also help them, etc., etc. But what about Google? What do you like about Google? I mean, do you like about them the fact that they are not trustworthy like the others because they are not used to work with enterprises, for example? I mean, many times I found enterprises that said to me, look, Google potentially has an interesting public cloud, but looking at how they work and how they change their mind about architecture, about products, about services. It's very difficult for us because we have a very, very long development cycle of our application. We need time. We need long-term releases that should stay for for quite some time, etc., etc. They really change the API under our applications so quickly that sometimes it's difficult. Well, you may say that this is changing now. They finally understood, but actually it's way harder for an enterprise to talk with Google than with the other two. So, I mean, that's the reality in the end. So the third news of the week that we selected for you was about AWS and the fact that one of their data centers had a minor breach, but this brought down a bunch of services that impacted real businesses. For 4 hours, companies like Delta and many other names in the US suffered some sort of slowdown or even total service loss. This is not uncommon. I mean, and I'm not pointing my finger to AWS here. It happened to all the other hyperscalers. It happened to everybody. What is visible is that the concentration of services and application on AWS make this very visible. I mean, more probably than others. The other thing is, is the discussion that I have every day practically. So we see that every time you have a service, an application, and something that insists only in a single server, or only in a single location, then you may have a huge problem if something goes wrong in that location. This happens all the time. I mean, many enterprises don't really design their application for failure. They design their application, taking for granted that the resources are always there, that everything is protected. I mean, you heard what happened to Google in France a few months ago, or what happened to OVH a few years ago. I mean, in all these occasions, you find somebody that didn't design their application to sustain that kind of failure. And this is only one data center. I mean, sometimes it's also difficult to say, okay, how much this outage will last? Because, I mean, if it lasts only a couple of hours, do I trigger the disaster recovery process? Because then it's a pain on the neck to do the failback. Okay, this is something that many people really struggle to understand. I mean, so you have data, you have applications, they are critical for your business. But actually, what happens when the application goes down and you have to trigger the the disaster recovery procedure? So the disaster recovery procedure means that you have to move everything that points to those applications to the new location. Sometimes you have to reconfigure stuff, etc., etc., etc. And then you start producing data on the new location. Then you have to resync everything back. So there is a failback procedure that you have to start. This is sometimes a very expensive process that takes time and money. So you have to think about it twice or thrice before jumping to your disaster recovery plan. And I don't know, again, if you want to jump in, just let me know, and we will promote you to speaker. Or anyways, what I really like of what we do at Cubbit here is that with this decentralized technology that are becoming more and more common. I mean, not just Cubbit, but you can find more and more about the decentralized cloud on the internet if you search on Google or any other place. Where what is interesting is that everything is dispersed. Think about data. So your data is dispersed in multiple locations, so that even a location goes down, you don't really care. Your service is not affected. If a gateway, if a location, if one server, or in sometimes sometimes many servers goes down, that's not a problem. I mean, you can survive that. You can still keep working, providing your service or whatever. That's something that is really exciting, and I think it's something that many. I mean, somehow is why we are successful. One of the reasons, but at the same time, I think if you think about it, I mean, concentrating everything in one center is risky. Replicating your data and application in other data center is the way to go. But actually, you add complexity, you add costs, you add so many um, so many variables to the game that it's sometimes it's really difficult, especially if you have a small team. And by doing this in a more decentralized way, then you are offloading the risk to the entire network, and you are minimizing the risk. Actually, it's not really offloading is not the right word. So you are minimizing the risk because you are spreading your infrastructure in a in a much bigger area, so that the blast radius is minimized. This is really important, I think, and this is why so many people are now deciding, are now switching, and are looking for this kind of technologies. And again, it would be nice to have some of you jumping in and tell me your story, see if it matches with mine or not. Can you please, guys, give me a sign? I see that there are some emoticon like the smiling face, for example, just to see if this tool works correctly. Because sometimes we have a lot of listeners, but actually they told me that not all of them are able to join the conversation, even if they want. Probably I don't know if there is something in the platform or there is something in the system that doesn't work well. Okay, I see somebody raising their hand. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Just to have a feedback is encouraging. So again, I think that in general, we closed the number of topics that we had for the day. I really, again, I'm really wondering the role of IT events in person, especially in Europe now. Would you attend an in-person event now? Is it worth it? Does it make any sense for the vendor to build, to spend all this money, to be present, to meet people at these events? Are, online events better? Again, from my perspective, it's really cool to meet people in person and to have beer together also at the end of the day, but it's more a social thing than really a way to learn something new. Even from the feedback that I got from our people that attended the AWS reInvent, they don't really need to go there to learn something new. What they really like is the social part of it. So meeting with people they don't really meet all the time, and meeting people for the first time because they met them in forums and in the social media, and they want to, it's just a sort of meetup for them, but not really for the content, not really for the new content. It's something that they really love to to do at home. So training and all these kind of thing. And maybe I'm wrong, but actually that's what I had from this event last week. So also for today, we can call it a wrap. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for listening. You know where you can find me every Thursday, 5 p.m. Central European Time or 8 a.m. Pacific. We try to discuss a few news from the internet, as well as see if there is something cool that is worth mentioning during the session. Everybody can join us in the discussion. We love to have an open conversation. But anyways, so we will find also the podcast on Spotify in a few days if you are not able to join us live. So that's it. Thank you very much again, and bye-bye.